lang isa. Ay, awang pa ikaw mag-design. Sabi ko nga, pagbalik ka din mo na, Roy, para makita natin.
Ako, sinachat ko na po.
Naka ano po tayo mga kaibigan ha?
Okay.
Hindi na po tayo naka-mute. Yes. So good afternoon everyone. So welcome to today's lecture on feature writing. I will be your resource speaker for today. I am Art Angelo Enelo from still the Quezon National High School. I am one of the advisors of the Coconut and Ang Niyog. Later on, we will be joined by one of our feature writers here at Quezon National High School to share her insights as well as her experiences in writing feature articles. So, let's start. So, feature writing. Wait lang po. Okay, so feature writing is one page of a school paper which serves as the heart of a school publication or school organ, for it presents articles that tells or articles that highlight or tell stories of different people, okay, in real time, based on facts and based on true stories. Okay, the main purpose or the main role of a feature writer is to tell a story. Okay, furthermore, since we are featuring something, it is something that's specific, so it's never generic. So feature allows readers to discover or know something about the world. Well, more than entertaining and giving enjoyment among the readers, one of the objectives also of a feature article is to let other people know or to gain information or new knowledge about something that is not known yet. Okay? Also, a feature article tells what people do not know. Okay? That's why it's called feature, or in Philippine, it's something that's specific. That's why it shouldn't be common. Okay? Later on, I'll be sharing the qualities or characteristics of a subject that can be used in producing articles for feature writing. Ma'am Arlene, can you, gikinig mo ba ako sa audio? Okay, so moving on. So a feature page, like what I said earlier, contains different stories. So there must be diversity or there must be variety among the topics or the subjects or the articles that you will be placing in on your feature pages on your school publication. Okay, so it can be a story that talks about love. It can be a story that talks about something that's exciting, something that is trendy. Okay, and feature does not have a specific number of length or number of paragraphs as long as the main idea or the main purpose of the writer is being conveyed. Okay? So these are some or the generic features of a feature article. Okay? It provides information, it provides knowledge among the readers. It tells something that is not known yet by many. Okay. Also, okay, feature article must provide different stories or there must be diversity or variety of stories found on feature pages. So we're requesting those participants whose audio are on or who are speaking kindly set your audio to mute po. So okay. So these are the general features of a feature page and a feature article. Okay, so these are the things that you also have to remember when you are making a feature article. Again, like what I said earlier, because we are talking about feature, we are featuring something. Therefore, it is not a generic essay. Okay, more so it is not a literary piece because feature, like what I said, is an article that highlights stories of true people in true time based on facts or based on what is real. Okay, more so a feature article is never an editorial because your main purpose or the main purpose or role of the writer is to serve as a storyteller. You are just telling a story and your opinion is not needed in the narrative. Okay, again, these are the wrong notions that must be taken into consideration when you are producing a feature article. Number one, a feature is not a literary piece because it is based on facts, it is based on real stories, it is based on what is true. Okay? Also, a feature is not an editorial because you do not give opinion. You do not give opinion when you are writing. The role of the writer is simply to tell a story. The writer serves as the voice of someone, okay, or when he or she is telling her story, okay, then it can also be something that's objective. It shouldn't be biased. There should be no biases in telling the story of a feature article. And again, because it is feature, it focuses on a specific subject. Okay, it's never a generic one. For example, when you are going to produce an article about a love story or about love, it shouldn't be a generic love. You can find, let's say, a love story of a two couple or I mean a couple, okay, who have been together for, let's say, 80 years already. So your story is about a love story, but then it is not generic because you are featuring something and that someone is the couple who have been sharing the love together for 80 years. Okay? So, on writing feature articles, these are the formula that we can advise you okay, in producing an effective feature article. Okay? Feature article is made up of two elements. We have the subject and the storytelling. All feature article must have the subject, which is the one that's being featured, and the storytelling is the manner of, okay, the narrative. You are the one narrating. Okay, how are you narrating the story behind the subject that you have chosen? So let's go further by looking into the characteristics or qualities of first the subject. So when you choose the subject in writing feature article, you have to take note of the following. The first one is that subject that is not known, okay? Or if the subject is known, what's not known about it yet, okay? Or to sum it up, a subject that's worthy of being featured must have the following characteristics. First, unique. Okay? It should be unique because it's not common. I mean, why would you feature something that's already known or familiar? Okay? Or that's already famous or that's already cliche. New, in relation to unique, okay, it should be fresh. Okay? It's not known yet. Relevant because, again, a feature article must also give knowledge or information to people. So your subject must also be something or someone that's sensible, that is worthy of being featured. And timeless because it goes beyond the time. It's not only significant today, but no matter what period of time it will be published, still, okay, it creates, or the meaning and the quality remains to be relevant. Okay? To achieve being timeless, know how to spin your story. Okay? Meaning to say, try to explore the subject. Okay? Since in writing feature article, you just have to focus on one angle. Okay? Try to re-angle your other articles next time by spinning the subject. Okay? Let's say, if your subject today is a successful person and your story is about her journey to being successful, on the next angle that you will be working on, you're going to spin it by at least looking at the other aspect of that subject. Let's say, from the success story, you can focus on the family story of that same subject. So you're trying to spin, or you're trying to explore the subject. Okay, once you have chosen the subject, okay, these are the other guidelines that you can consider in deciding before you come up with the decision of what will be your subject or who will be your subject on your feature article.
Well, hindi kompleto yung name nila dun sa list dun sa ano kaya yun.
Nandun saan natin? Must have. Set it in. Thank you. Okay, so sorry for that. So going back, before you decide on the subject or what will you be featuring or who will you be featuring, you can ask yourselves with the following questions. Try to analyze your subject before coming up whether you will be choosing that. The difference is that when you are in a contest, at times the subject is already given. So the challenge is, what angle will you be choosing or what aspect of the subject will you be featuring? That's for the second, that's for an individual contest. But if you are going to decide for your feature page, these questions, all these 4 questions should be considered. Number 1, what is your subject? Once you have identified the subject, you have to identify what aspect or what will be featured about that particular subject. Third question, why should the subject be featured? And lastly, what will your reader get from the article? Is it appropriate to your audience? Since we are working on campus journalism, another consideration that you must take in choosing the subject is, of course, the relevance. What is the importance of this article or of this subject to the students? And because we are catering to our students' needs or welfare, we must always consider the benefit that our students will get. At the same time, the parents will be reading our school paper and even this entire school community in general. Okay? Again, these are the 4 questions that you can take into consideration in choosing your subject. 1, what is your subject? Number 2, what will be featured about the subject? Number 3, why should the subject be featured? And number 4, what will your reader get from the article? Is it appropriate to your audience? Okay? So, the subject, again, let's go back to that variety. The subject is not always a person. The subject can be food, it can be a restaurant, it can be a ritual, it can be an event. It is something, again, that is unique, that is relevant, that is new, okay, and that's timeless. So these are the characteristics or guidelines that you can consider in choosing your subject. Okay, let's now proceed to the second element of a feature article, storytelling. So technically, when we talk of storytelling, it focuses on the writing procedure, the narration that's being done by the writer. Or the big question is, when you tell a story, how is the story told? Okay? And in telling your story, these are the 3 questions that you can ask, okay, or that you can use in evaluating your feature article. Number 1, is it complete? Okay, is it truthful? Is it factual? Is it believable? Okay, these 4 questions boil down to being true of your story. Did you gather facts based on the subject that you have chosen? Did you conduct interview about the subject, or did you consider conducting interview? Did you go straight to the subject for you to know what's really, or did you try to explore? Are the data you are presenting on your feature article based on facts? And is your manner of story believable or convincing? Okay. Number 2, because we are talking about the writing quality in storytelling, we must look into coherence and cohesion. Okay? Coherence deals with how sentences are constructed, how paragraphs are defined. Coherence, focuses on the main idea that's being conveyed on your article. Is your article telling a clear story or a clear idea? Does it tell or present a clear theme? Okay. Cohesion focuses on the quality of writing, right choice of words, sentence construction, arrangement of sentences and paragraphs. And lastly, you have to look into the 3 C's. After writing your article, you can evaluate your article by asking these 3 questions. Okay? Is your article complete? Okay? Does it contain all the needed facts and data needed to be presented to make your story believable? Number 2, is it coherent? Again, does the article tell a clear idea about the story or about the subject that you are featuring? And lastly, is it cohesive? Okay? How is your article written, or what's the quality of writing that's put into your feature article? Okay? It is important to note that in writing or producing a feature article, you must do research. Also, as a campus journalist, you must read a lot. Okay? It is also a requirement, or it's also an advantage that a writer knows how to conduct interview. And of course, as a writer, you must be curious. One challenging part of being a feature writer is that it is very broad, it's very vague. Okay, there can be a lot of subjects, there can be a lot of stories to tell, but then you have to be very careful and you have to be very mindful of choosing these subjects and in presenting them. That's why a feature writer must be curious. And as a feature writer, you must also keep yourself updated. Okay, as a campus journalist in general, you must always keep yourself up to date to the different events happening in your community, in your society in general. Okay? Because we are working on campus journalism and because we are talking about our community, okay, one thing that you must also consider in producing articles is that you must make your article localized. What do we mean by producing localized article? Okay, like what I said earlier, we should be updated about the different events happening in our community and in our society. Okay, for an instance, last year there were many movies that were produced, okay, nationwide and even in international arena that made an impact, okay, to many. And as a feature writer, you want to create an article that is relevant to, let's say, a movie. For example, Black Panther, okay. Black Panther tries to highlight the equality because there were write-ups about the movie that it showcases the equality among race. That one of the concerns that was raised in that film is racism. Okay, let's say if you want to be relevant, or if you want to produce an article connected to the theme of Black Panther, you can, let's say, go to your community, check on your school if there can be a story of a person or a family that in a way also has overcome racism. Okay, or let's talk about ASEAN integration. Okay, since we hosted ASEAN conference last year, and one of our theme in campus journalism has something to do with ASEAN integration, we must learn what ASEAN integration is all about. If we will be focusing on education for all, or inclusive education is one of the features of ASEAN integration. If you want to produce a localized article about ASEAN integration in general and education in a specific field, you can say, look for a student in your own school, or a student or a teacher in your community wherein they have experience being part or the benefit of inclusive education. Okay, so that's how you make your article localized. Okay, you look for stories, okay, around you within your school or within your community that highlight something that is of national relevance or regional impact in your community. You make something that's local. Okay, that's how to produce localized articles in feature page or in feature writing. Okay, before we proceed to the parts of a feature article, I will be introducing to you one of our feature writers, okay, and she will be sharing to us things that can be done with regard to choosing the subject, working on the subject, and working on storytelling, particularly in producing feature articles. So I have here with me Joffny Gives Ongwiko to share to you her thoughts and experiences in making and producing feature article focusing on subject and storytelling components.
So, in my experience on writing feature articles, I've learned more about it, especially on choosing a subject and storytelling. In choosing a subject, we tried, as a writer of our publication, we are very versatile because your subject can be anywhere. You can write anything about what you see. It just all goes down to what is worth writing and what is worth reading. And on working our subjects, we usually do preliminary researches so that we have a background knowledge of the subject. And on interviewing, we usually go outside. We do not limit ourselves just inside the campus, but also we go through different places, like different communities. We talk to other people, we try other things, so that our subjects will be more unique to one another. And on the other hand, in terms of storytelling, we usually make it light, because you don't need to use too deep literary words or highfalutin words just to tell your story, because we make a point that being clear is important, and we keep in mind that through our storytelling, our subjects should be our readers will be able to understand what we are trying to say on our narrative. And in storytelling, we make sure that we connect with the readers, because it is important to appeal to their feelings. Like, for example, you will write about a food. It is important to appeal to their senses. Let them imagine on how the food tastes or how the food looks, so that your story will be, or the purpose of your story will be fully achieved. And we also keep in mind that a clear and interesting subject plus effective storytelling will result on a worth reading and worth writing feature article. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Gives. So there you have it. One of our feature writers here at Quezon National High School, Jofny Gives Ongwiko, on her experiences on choosing subjects, deciding on what subjects will be placed on our paper, and how to write an effective feature article. So this time, I will be proceeding to the second part of my talk, which has something to do with the structure of a feature article. So let's now have the parts of a feature article. Okay, so we have 4 parts of a feature article. We have the title, the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. As you can see here on our screen, all of these 4 parts are strongly connected to one another, okay? Because we must keep in mind that for us to produce an effective feature article, everything should be well thought of, everything should be well arranged, everything should be checked and verified prior to publication. From the title to introduction to the body down to conclusion, every part of our feature article must be strong, okay, or it should be a solid one. Okay, so let's now break these parts one by one. Title, okay. Title just like serves as the headline. If you're working on news or editorial article, in feature article, title is the headline. The counterpart is the headline. Okay. So when we talk of title, these are the things that you have to keep in mind. Title must be clear and must tell something. Okay. Like what I said earlier, literary, okay, indirect way of writing titles is not effective in producing feature article. As the moment your reader reads or sees your title, it should already be clear. They should already have a grasp of what the article is all about. That's why it's important to keep in mind that the title is clear and must tell something. Okay? More so, title must be clear, correct, and competitive. Clear because, again, it provides a clear overview of what your article is all about. Correct because the title is true to its content. Okay, that's why the connection of the title, introduction, body to conclusion, the oneness of the idea or the coherence should be observed in producing or writing feature article, because at times the title does not fit with the content, so therefore the title is not correct. That's why our title should match the content of our article for it to be correct. And competitive because this is where creativity comes in. Okay, because one characteristic of a feature is that it is creative non-fiction. Non-fiction because, again, a feature article is based on facts. It is based on true stories of true people in real time. Okay, creative because this is where your artistry, okay, comes in. So we can have titles that are witty or that are full of sense. Okay, and for you to achieve this, you must give your readers the combination of clarity and creativity. And if there's one thing that you have to take note of in writing your title, you should avoid boring and vague title. Okay? Because again, it does not go with the previous characteristics given a while ago. Okay? So, these, on our next slide, I'll be showing you examples of title, okay, that can be your basis in producing your own. Okay, number 1, RIP, Residents in Pasay, the Living Community of Pasay Cemetery. Okay, so if you will look at it, it clearly tells something that upon reading the title, you can say that it is an article about a community in a cemetery. And the wit here comes in because we all know that RIP is associated with death. Okay? And instead of saying rest in peace, it is redefined, it is given new definition by saying residents in Pasay, then the living community of Pasay Cemetery. So it's very clear, it's very witty. Okay? Number 2 example is livingan. Okay? As you can see here, livingan, okay, technically, when we talk of livingan, it also talks about cemetery. But if you will look at the spelling of the word livingan, living means alive, okay? Meaning there are alive people in people for dead, okay? Then another one is their home address, Pasay City Cemetery, okay? So these 3 titles, they talk about one subject, and that is the living community of Pasay Cemetery. Okay? Next one is purchasing after a better economy, how Shanian China outwit the money system. Okay? If you will look at this, purchasing, we know, is the act of buying. Okay? But chasing is running after. So meaning to say, for you to run after a better economy, you must buy something. And this is through, okay, the use of non-monetary system in Shanian China, because this title focuses on the subject, which is Shanian China community, which does not use money in buying, okay, in buying all their goods and all in buying all the gadgets that they want, from grocery store to malls and all. So that's the subject of this title. Okay, purchasing after a better economy, how Shanian China outwit the money system. And lastly, we have here rest or rant. Okay, if you will analyze the title, it talks about restaurants. Okay, but here it is rest or rant because you will have an overview that this article talks about different restaurants, but then the choice will be made by the reader whether they will be resting okay, or whether they will be enjoying their stay in that particular restaurant, or they will be ranting after. Okay, so this lines up a story of different restaurants here in our community. Okay, after the title, we have introduction. Okay, introduction usually opens the article. It is the beginning portion, or is the beginning part of a feature article. Okay, and these are the criteria that you must keep in mind in writing your introduction. Introduction must hook the readers. So, in feature writing, or in writing feature article, it should always be simple and straightforward. When we construct or write sentences, it should be straight, direct, and clear. Okay? That's why, from the very beginning, you have to keep in mind that your introduction must be direct, powerful, and strong. Okay? Direct in a sense that you are presenting the subject and also the angle, okay, about the story of that subject. Okay, it should be powerful because it should strike, okay, straight to your audience. This introduction should catch the interest of your reader. Okay, and strong because you have a solid background of what your subject is gonna be, or how the story about your subject will go. Another thing that you can use in writing or producing introduction is by use of knot graph. A knot graph is a backgrounder, okay? A background information. It can be a backgrounder that's being written on feature articles. If you're going to relate knot graph in editorial writing, it's like the news spec. So, in a way, what you're trying to write when you produce an introduction containing the knot graph has something to do with a combination of an information about a particular news where the story is based, okay, and then the angle that you want to take about that particular subject, okay. And these are the things that you have to avoid in writing introduction, okay. Question, of course, is never accepted nowadays in writing introduction, because again, it should be direct, powerful, and strong. 3 adjectives, okay? This is very common already, so this is not being practiced, or this is not advisable to use when you are making introduction. Quote as well, generic and literary, okay? Because again, we will go back to that quality or characteristic of a feature article. A feature article features something or someone. Therefore, it should never be generic, okay? And literary because it's direct, okay? Because when we write literary pieces, it's okay for us to let use of figurative language, to let use of words that create pictures and images. But in the case of writing introduction for a feature article, okay, it is not like that. It should always be clear, it should always be concrete, it should always be strong, direct, okay? That's why literary way of writing introduction is not advisable when you are working on a feature article. Okay, so this is an example of an introduction from our school publication, The Coconut. So under the bridge of Bocohan, Lucena City, Venus Pimentel and her family have been building their dreams for 18 years. But sadly, a life under this bridge means their family is filled with risk and danger. Okay? So the title of this article is The Risk and Dangers of Living Under Bocohan Bridge. Bocohan is one of the barangays here in Lucena City, and one of our feature writers, the one who talked earlier, Gives, Jofty Gives, she's the one who wrote this article. So she went to the family and she went to the Bocohan area where there is a community living under the bridge, okay, and she found this family of Venus Pimentel, okay. The reason why she chose this subject is because of the length that the Pimentel family is spending, okay. They've been there for 18 years with their children, okay. So moving on, so for the secondary paragraphs for the introductory part, Okay? According to Venus, natural disasters often strike them. During typhoons, the water level of the river near their house rises, making them evacuate and rush to higher areas or evacuation centers because of the possibility that the wild flow of the river water could drastically wash away their house. Then as you can see, there's a quotation. This is the product of interviewing and going direct to the subject. Then you have here the quote given by Venus. Lumalakas talaga yung agos hanggang dun sa baba. Inaabot kami pero madalang. Kaya nagsasabihan pa rin namin yung mga bata kasi delikado talaga. Venus stated. So, if you will look at the first paragraph, which is the main introduction of this article, it clearly states what the story is all about and what angle will be discussed in the article. In this story of Venus Pimentel and her family, we are looking at the status of families living in Lucena City, particularly this type of people living under the bridge. But our angle here are specific, or what we try to highlight here in this article, which is found at the beginning or introduction of the narrative, is how risky and dangerous it could be for a family like that of Venus to live under Bukahan Bridge. Okay? So, moving on to the third part of our feature article, we have, after the introduction, we have of course the body. Okay, the body contains the information or the elaboration of information, the presentation of facts, data, statistics relevant to the subject that you are presenting in your article. Again, earlier I told you that in choosing or as a feature writer, we must explore the subject, okay? And as we decide on what subject to feature on our page, we must gather data and other information relevant to that, okay, for us to have a complete storytelling. And this is the portion of the article where elaboration comes in. Okay? So, in writing the body, you must keep in mind these 3 C's. Correct, coherent, and cohesive. Okay? When we talk of correct or being correct, you must be mindful of the facts and information or details you will be including in your write-up. Okay? Again, feature article is based on true stories. It is based on fact, okay, and it is not made up. So when you go interview people, you should write what they said during the interview and not your personal thoughts or ideas. Okay, more so you must be mindful and careful of the different data or statistics you are presenting in your write-up. Okay, that's what being correct means. Next one is coherent. Okay. Again, coherence talk about oneness among ideas being conveyed in the article. You can achieve coherence or being coherent in your feature article if you have a unified idea among the paragraphs present in your article. Though you will be presenting different information, if you will analyze and look at your feature article, all this information, all these data are all pointing to the main subject or to the main topic that you want to discuss on your article. And if that happens, then you are producing a coherent article. And the last one is cohesive. Okay? For us to achieve cohesion in writing the body of our feature article, you must establish strong connection among the words, phrases, sentences within, between, and among paragraphs. This is the quality of writing. Again, it is advisable that when we write feature articles, it's like writing a news article. One sentence, one paragraph, or you can have at least 2 to 3 sentences per paragraph. However, the idea should be clear. One paragraph, one idea. Okay? For you to make sure that the quality of writing is good. Also, in cohesion, organization also comes in. The arrangement of paragraphs is also important in writing a feature article. Well, actually, being coherent and being cohesive overlap, because technically, If your words and sentences are not clearly written, the idea is affected. More so, ideas will only be clear if our way of writing or presenting the story or the information we want to present is clearly written. That's why there's a strong connection between coherence and cohesive. However, to clearly distinguish the difference between the two, we are talking about coherence, or we have coherent article if there's oneness among ideas being conveyed, and we have a cohesive article if the quality of writing is high. Okay, if there's a high quality of writing. Okay? So, for the sample body, this is still part of the article produced by Gives and published on our school paper. It talks about still the life and the risks and dangers of living under Bukuhan Bridge. Okay, here, if you will analyze the paragraphs given, each paragraph talks about a particular or specific risk or danger that's being experienced by the family of Venus. Okay? Meanwhile, there are times that their children get involved in unfortunate accidents. When their 10-year-old son, Anjay, was running, he accidentally collided his head on the iron steel of the bridge, giving him a wound that needed to be stitched. He also got hit by a van that was passing through the bridge. Okay? So that's one difficulty living under the bridge. Those cars passing over it could hit their children, just like what happened with Anjay. Another struggle or another difficulty or risk and danger experienced by the family is enumerated in the next, or is described in the next paragraph. It is also a struggle to live in their community because of the loud noise, bad odor caused by the nearby piggery, and their other neighbors having poor hygiene and sanitation. In addition, there was also an incident of a person being killed under the bridge. So health risk is being discussed in this paragraph, and also the life risk because of the crimes happening in the community. Okay? And this was strengthened by a statement given by Venus. Minsan magulo at nag-aaway-away din at gawa ng babuyan dun sa taas, bumabaho dito. Dati may nangyaring patayan dun sa ilalim ng tulay. Wala ako noon, pero sabi nila mga lasing daw yon. Venus continued. Okay? So, again, the body enumerates or elaborates different information relevant to the subject or to the introduction that we have produced in our article. So, because we are talking about the risks and dangers of living under the bridge, of course, it is expected that you are going to enumerate those situations showing or highlighting risks and dangers in the life of Venus and her family. Then the last portion of a feature article is the conclusion. Basically, when we talk of the conclusion, it is the ending. Okay, so how should we end our feature article? Our feature article can be ended by having a summary of the most important idea or main points you want to highlight on your article. Okay, and for you to have an effective conclusion, it must leave a punch to the reader. Okay, if you begin strong with your title, up to conclusion, it should also end strong. Okay, so it can also be a reiteration of the most striking part of your article about the subject, or it can be the most impactful idea about your write-up. Okay, so these are the things that you have to consider in producing feature article. Okay, conclusion can reiterate or highlight the most striking or significant idea about your article or subject, and it can also be the most impactful idea about your article. Okay, so this is the end part or the conclusion of Gives write-up on the risks and dangers of living under Bukuhan Bridge. Despite of the hardship that family Pimentel has encountered from living under the bridge, they have not lost hope that one day they'll be able to find a home, safe from the dangers under the bridge, and that those will vanish for the next generations to come. Okay? if you will look at it, it's a one paragraph showcasing the idea that the write-up really wants to convey, and that is having a safe home for everyone, okay, and the risks and dangers of experiencing such as depicted in the story of Pimentel family. Okay, one thing that you have to be very careful of is that writers have tendency to editorialize, especially on this portion of a feature article. So again, when we conclude a feature article, it should never contain our personal opinion that, let's say, this sample conclusion will be opinionated if I write it this way. I really admire Family Pimentel for staying that long under the bridge despite the difficulties and challenges that they have been encountering since day one. So it sounds opinionated or it's editorializing because you're already expressing your admiration or you're already giving your personal opinion about the subject. Again, when we write feature article, the main role of a feature writer is simply to tell a story because a feature article is never an editorial. So, if we write a conclusion, again, it can be a reiteration or a review of the most striking or most important idea that you want to convey on your article, or what is the most striking part or idea that your subject is trying to tell in his or her story. Okay? So, moving on. So, I will be telling you this time, or I will be discussing to you for the last part of my talk other matters that should be considered in producing a feature article. Okay? Because this also serve as criteria in evaluating your feature write-up. Okay? Other matters that you have to consider in writing a feature article is, number one, angle. Okay? So what is an angle? The angle is your take on the subject you will be working on. If you will remember, okay, because we are featuring something or we are featuring someone, okay, there should be specific. This angle serves or provides you with your focus. What portion of the subject will you be working on for your article? That is the angle. Okay? So, when you choose the angle, your angle must be interesting and promising. Okay? It's like working on something that is striking on your portion, something that will be loved or liked by your readers. Angle provides the focus, okay, where your article will be evolving, okay, or angle is also described to be the focus, okay, or the central theme where your story evolves, because you have to remember that it's not enough that you feature something or someone but there's no clear angle or focus. So when you choose an angle, you should remember that angle must be interesting and promising. Okay, for example, there is a story of a deaf or mute student in your community. Okay, of course there can be different aspects about that being deaf or that being mute. So it is important. This is where the importance of exploring and understanding your subject comes in, because it is only when you understand your subject well where you can decide what angle to highlight or what part or portion of that subject should I be working on. Okay? For example, here in Quezon Province, we celebrate Nyugnyugan Festival every August, and there are a lot of subjects that we can see. For example, we have booth display, we also have street dancing, we also have food. Okay, if our subject is, let's say, Nyugnyugan Festival, okay, and I will be choosing an angle, I have to explore that. So angle is like narrowing down the subject. If my subject is Nyugnyugan, my angle will be on let's say, food being highlighted in Nyugnyugan. But I can narrow it down more or try to be more specific by what Quezonian delicacy or food is born out of Nyugnyugan that is unique, okay, and relevant to Quezonian culture or Quezonian heritage. So that is my angle. I have to look for a food. I'm highlighting, I'm talking about story of Nyugnyugan, but I am focusing on a specific food, okay? Because again, you are featuring, sure, so it should be specific, okay? In choosing the angle, you must consider whether there will be enough information, because if you don't have information that's enough to elaborate, your article will be poor. That's why, again, when you are choosing a subject, after you choose the subject, the angle simply answers the question, what will I be feature about this subject? Okay? That's the angle of a feature article. What will I be featuring about this subject to make it a feature article? And in choosing that or in doing that, you must keep in mind that whatever highlight or portion of the subject I'll be choosing, it should be interesting and promising. Because in addition to angle, there are instances, especially in writing contests or individual writing contests, wherein contestants are given one subject. And that's where getting the correct and proper angle comes in. That's why it is important that when you are a contestant in feature writing and you are shown, let's say, a video, or you are asked to conduct a press conference, live press conference before your contest, that you get to explore and understand what the subject is. Because if you are given one subject in a press contest, okay, proper angling or getting the best angle is where the contestants differ. And most of the times, those contestants who have the best angles win. Okay? So, that's one thing that you can consider if you are a contestant in feature writing, because there are instances that your subject is one. So, you must be skilled in getting the correct, the most interesting and most promising angle, and you will only do that if you understand your subject well. Matter 2 is organization. Okay, organization is relevant to cohesion and coherence. Okay, outlining can be one important skill that's helpful in producing an effective feature article, in a sense that your way of narration or your storytelling will be clearly conveyed, okay, and will be effectively conveyed to your reader. So organization refers to the order of the paragraphs in your article. Logical arrangement keeps your readers interested. So when you produce a feature article, you must look into how is the narration being presented, how does the narration go, by looking at the different order, or by looking at the order of the paragraphs, because again, each paragraph contains different information about your subject. So therefore, if that's the case, okay, you must make sure that your paragraphs are complementing each other well. Are they supplementary with one another, or they are scattered? Because if your paragraphs are not well arranged, then the idea can be affected. The clarity of the idea that you want to convey will be affected. So therefore, when you write a feature article, you have to consider the organization or the arrangement of the paragraphs that are that's present on your write-up. Matter number 3, language and style. You must be a master of your language. Choice of words, sentence construction, appropriate tone affects your audience. Remember, your audience is your reader. Okay? In this case, language is very important. Your reader, whether it is English or Filipino that you will be using, your writer must be a master of it. Okay? Master of either of the language. Because it's an advantage to express ideas okay, clearly and effectively if you know very well the correct use of language. This is also where the choice of words comes in, okay, as well as sentence construction. Again, I would like to reiterate that when you construct paragraphs or sentences in feature article, short and simple sentences and paragraphs are very much encouraged, okay? If you can express an idea or a paragraph in short and simple sentence, then that's an effective one. Again, do not lose the idea. The idea must be clear. The number of words that's limited but clearly states something or an idea, that's an effective way of writing. So we must practice and we must encourage the use of simple structure and simple words as well, okay? Because our readers audience, mostly our students, we should use the words that are appropriate to their level of understanding. Like what Gives said earlier, it's not that appreciated when you use highfalutin words, okay, in writing feature article, because we want to converse, we want to connect with our audience. And if most of our audience are not masters of language, then we will not be able to get or to successfully achieve that connecting with them if they do not understand the words that we are using in our article. So choice of words is very important, okay? Appropriate tone, it pertains to the emotion that's being placed by the writer to the subject. So just like what Gives said, also, if you are featuring food, okay, you must use words that will appeal to the senses or to the sense of taste or sense of sight or sense of smell, okay, to our readers. They should be able to feel, to imagine, to hear whatever you want to tell them, okay, through setting tone or by choosing the right words that are appealing to their feelings or emotions, or most importantly, the senses, okay? Next one, we have grammar and mechanics. Of course, cohesion and coherence will be achieved if we know the very basic rules of subject-verb agreement. It is important that our writers, or as writers, you know the use of the application of the basic rules on subject-verb agreement, and you must also know how to use correct punctuation marks, okay? Because they affect the meaning that you want to convey. Matter 5, neatness, okay? This particularly is addressed to those writers who are competing for press conferences. Of course, in press conferences, we're not allowed to bring laptops, computers. So what we do is that we write our article. Of course, good handwriting is an advantage. Keeping your writing neat and legible makes a difference, okay? If we, as a reader, because remember your judge is also a reader, it should be appealing to them. I mean, the handwriting really affects the reader. If the handwriting is not that good, no matter how good the article may be, of course, it will be very difficult for your reader to understand. Okay, that's why you must practice legible and good handwriting in case you are competing for press conferences. Because if you are working on our school paper, everything is encoded. So the issue of neatness and legibility is not put into consideration, since editing can be done digitally. But in terms of contest or individual contest, it is an advantage if the writer knows how to write well, and if he or she writes legibly. The last matter that we have to consider focuses on the overall impact. Well, for you to have an effective feature article, you must consider the previous matters that's mentioned, okay, in this lecture. Okay, your judges are your readers, so make your article affect them. So again, we have to consider our angle. What particular aspect of the subject are we going to highlight? How do we arrange our paragraphs? Okay, how do we work on our language? How do we choose the words? Do we write clearly? Okay, and of course, that's the effect or the impact. If you're able to cover all of those, then that will create a good impression on your reader. Okay, so that's it. That ends my lecture on feature writing or producing feature article. I think I can now entertain questions from our participants, from our audience, in case you have questions or clarifications about feature writing or writing feature article. Okay, tips on the variety of feature articles that we have. Like all we have to do is to make sure that there's a variety. I mean, we have to explore our community. In terms of subjects, it's important that we highlight, we do not only limit our school paper, our pages, feature pages, in working on only one kind of subject. Let's say the WH, okay? Who, what, when, where, how. These 5 questions can serve as our guide on choosing subject. Let's say we have stories of people, we have stories of food, we have stories of places, we have stories of rituals or other activities being highlighted in our things that are unique in our community. That's where variety comes in. And actually, even here in our school, okay, because we've been producing many articles for years now, one extra challenge for us is to choose subjects that are unique from one another, because it is only then where you can have, okay, or where you can get variety of subject. Okay? So I hope I'm able to answer Ma'am Evanessa's question of having tips on the variety of articles to be written. Next question is from Sir Miguel. When you write a feature article, can you use figures of speech? Yes, but it should be limited and should be very simple still. We can use figures of speech but not too much. Okay? Because we are avoiding literary approach in writing feature article, because again, if our article will be bombarded with so much figures of speech and our readers will just be imagining what you are trying to say on your article, then it will not be understood, because again, we talk about true stories of people. So therefore, the figures of speech can be used here in a very limited manner. Let's say if in the narrative the subject is comparing to is being compared to something, let's say for example place, okay, you are featuring a place and you want to use a comparison that this place is said to be the, let's say the hanging garden of the Philippines. That can be done because you are really concretizing something. But if you are making a comparison, producing something that's vague or not realistic, that shouldn't be considered po. Or that shouldn't be considered. So your use of figures of speech must also be well thought of. Is it appropriate to the context or narrative that we are producing? Because if it will go beyond the purpose of having true stories, then that should be avoided. Okay? So thank you, sir. May we send a feature article through your email that you can critique? From Ma'am Evanessa, it's fine with me. I don't have any problem po, as long as I'm not busy and as long as I can attend to all your articles I am willing to have it read and give pointers. I'm willing to give pointers in case for the improvement of your feature article. So I hope I'm able to answer Ma'am Evanessa and Sir Miguel. Are there other questions that you want to ask po with regard to producing feature article?
Magandang hapon po. Ma'am,
If there are no more questions po to be asked, I think I can end our meeting today. I hope you're able to learn things and tips on how to produce feature article. Again, just to sum things up, okay? Feature article has two important elements. These are the subject. It can be a person, place, or thing, or even event, okay? Rituals, practices, okay? That we want to present on our page or on our write-up. That's the subject. And the second element is storytelling. Storytelling works on how we are narrating or telling the story behind the subject that we are featuring. Okay? Again, in choosing the subject, you must consider whether it is unique, is it new, is it fresh, is it relevant. Okay? And for you to have a correct subject or for you to have an effective subject, you can also ask yourself in elaborating or in evaluating your subject, you have to understand the subject. What is your subject? What will be featured about your subject? Why should it be featured? And what will my audience get from the subject that I will be presenting? Okay? And for the storytelling element, it is where the structure or narration comes in. Again, a feature article must have 4 parts. Title. The title must be clear, correct, competitive. Clear because it tells something, okay, that your audience gets to have an overview or a grasp of what the article is all about. Correct because it fits with your content. And competitive because creativity, wit is put into it. Okay? Introduction is the first part or the beginning of your story wherein you can ask yourself, okay, whether it is direct, strong, and powerful. Direct because you clearly state your angle, you clearly state your focus on what your subject is all about. Okay? Strong because you are a master, you know very well what the subject is. Okay? And powerful because it is striking. It catches your reader's interest. Okay? The body must have the 3 C's. Correct, coherence, and cohesion. Correct because all the data, the facts given in your narration are all true and based on facts. Okay? And real data. And they are not made up. Okay? Coherent because it conveys one single unified idea, and coherent because you have a high quality of writing. And lastly, you have conclusion wherein it leaves a punch to your readers. It can be a reiteration of the most important or striking idea about your narration or the subject or the most impactful idea about your feature article. Okay? So I hope you're able to learn things from us today about feature writing. Okay, we will be sending or we will be posting the video and the material that we use today in our link or our website. So you just wait until tomorrow for the posting or for the uploading of videos and materials on our link or our website, including that of editorial writing and editorial column. So thank you very much everyone for participating today. We'll see you again on Tuesday. Thank you very much.